Hello, it's No Apologies on Beck, where we are unafraid to speak the truth. I'm your host, Rick Becker, our wonderful co-host, Lori Hintz.
Wonderful today.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Hi.
Yep. It's the start of a day.
It's the start of a really good week too. We've got a blockbuster week of guests and topics for you. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, absolutely. So tonight we've got a great guest I'm super excited about. Peter C. Earls, an economist with the American Institute for Economic Research, and great article. It's well worth your time, so stick around for that. We're going to be hitting some other interesting topics, but we're going to start off with inflation, because we were trying to cover that when I was on Zoom, but I didn't want to let go of Kamala
Harris, right.
immigration
Right.
situation. So we stuck on that, but we're bringing inflation back. And that sounds like a song, doesn't it?
Bringing inflation back. Well,
Yeah.
it's like the 70s song because that's what's happening.
Yes.
So-
Well, yeah, exactly. So what I'm looking at, pull up the graphic. We've got a CNBC report, and this is by writer Jeff Cox. And what's interesting is this came out on June 10th. And it says here, consumer prices jumped 5% in May, the fastest pace since the summer of 2008. Now,
Wow.
consumer prices, or in other words, when we talk about CPI, Consumer Price Index, when we talk about that going up a lot, what we're really talking about is inflation. And it's interesting because, Laura, you and I spoke about inflation.
We've talked about it before.
And this is the article we spoke about, and it is also by Jeff Cox, but it's on May 12th, so a month earlier. And this said, inflation speeds up in April as consumer prices leap 4.2%, the fastest since 2008. Now we're at 5%, the fastest since 2008. What we noted in the first article was that they called this transitory inflation. And there are a lot of people, including myself, that are skeptics because what they're saying is, don't worry about it. We're not changing interest rates. This is just a temporary thing because of COVID last year. And I want to just hit on that a little bit. Jeff Cox, in this article, he talks about how the Consumer Price Index, which represents various prices, including food, energy, groceries, housing costs, and various sales, rose 5%. They were expecting it to be lower. The last increase, that size or larger, was back in 2008, August, but it was only 5.3%. So we nearly hit that. Now, they do go on to talk a little bit more about a basket that excludes the volatile industry. So it excludes food and energy, which doesn't really make sense because that's really important for us when we look at inflation, but it's another way of using a metric to compare different timelines. And that increased 3.8%, which was the fastest growth since 1992.
That's what I was looking at too. I found an op-ed in the Prickly Pear that was talking about this exact same thing, and it said, according to the BLS, by 2.4% over the past 3 months, the biggest 3-month plunge in purchasing power since 1982.
Yeah, in purchasing power, exactly.
Purchasing power.
Which is the most important thing.
It really is. And when you talk about food and when you talk about gasoline, those are consumable things. Those are staples and important things.
Exactly. So what Mr. Cox points out is, again, the Fed and those in charge are saying that the spike in inflation is transitory, even though this month is more intense than last month when we said it was transitory. Than we would have originally anticipated. They're still sticking with the transitory
I don't know.
component.
I'm skeptical too. This pundit that I was reading said that plunge in purchasing power is permanent, not temporary.
Yeah.
It's permanent.
So I get an email from Vitaly. I could be pronouncing it wrong. Vitaly Katzenelson.
Okay.
I don't know. He's the CIO for Investment Management Associates out of Denver. He writes a very good newsletter that he sends out via email. And he broke it down, I think, very interestingly, because I see, as he says it, that some components are definitely, we'll say, transitory, or in other words, short-term. Lumber, for example.
Right.
Lumber spiked crazy. It's because everyone got all this government money, didn't know what to do with it because they couldn't go anywhere. So hey, let's build onto the house, or do whatever.
In addition to
Build a deck.
fires that limited the stock, there were all sorts of different factors that
So there are
contributed to that.
there are aspects like that where it is going to pull back. Now it may not pull back all the way, but it's going to pull back. And then we have the chip makers are behind, so cars are temporarily more expensive. That's going to come back somewhat. So there are transitory components, but there are some things that are much less transitory. Labor costs.
Exactly.
So we have Biden provided us with this opportunity for people to not work, but still make money, more than they were making.
More money not working.
So you have people with money, and it's, again, we're not saying that they're becoming rich, but the point is that they're still getting an income. However, they're not working, they're not producing, and we had the shuttering of multitude of businesses across the United States, especially in the blue states.
Right.
So we had a slowed output. So we don't have as many goods, but we have just as much or more money, and so that's driving some inflation. It's also driving labor cost. And we are seeing that because to try and get someone to get off the couch from getting their Biden bucks, we've got to effectively have a functional minimum wage that far exceeds anything that the Democrats have been wanting to implement, certainly in North Dakota. So we've got this interesting situation with labor. Now, I don't know if economists say that labor costs are sticky. Sticky meaning that they're hard to move. I think that they're very much not sticky to go up. I think they're sticky coming down, because what do you say once we pass through this? Hey, right. We hired you
with a $1,000 bonus, and yeah.
Right, or we hired you at $25 an hour, but now that we're through this, we're going to drop you down to $18 an hour.
How's
That's
that
not going to
work?
work so well.
No, that's exactly
so
right.
that labor is the biggest expense that businesses have, and I don't think that's going to come down, and that translates into maintenance of higher prices. And so I think there's where we have
more of a permanent issue.
Exactly. We're definitely going to see that it will translate into these higher prices of the goods that we buy, which then weakens the dollar further.
I think I've only seen that groceries are up about 2%. The groceries don't seem to be rising as fast as some of the other items too, but that is, I mean, that's the threatening part next. I mean, once we start finding that we have short supplies on things, then things will get really hairy.
Now this, Vitaly goes on to say that deglobalization, when people were pulling back to say, well, because we're worried about COVID and production, we're gonna pull everything into our own country. That is also going to increase the cost, because when you have free trade, it lowers the cost essentially for everybody. And then the last thing he talks about are interest rates, because of how much money has been invented. At some point, having that many dollars in circulation causes the cost of things to go up. And every $1 billion that they print is putting us at greater and greater risk down the road for a long-term, very effectively destabilizing effect in our economy for years to come. So we'll have to watch that. The thing is that we're going to keep on looking at inflation, because it really affects people. It affects your savings. Basically it's a stealth tax. Yep. And it more or less is like a tax on your payroll, because those dollars can't buy as much as they used to. So in essence, it's government taxing without having to take ownership for taxing. So we're going to stay on top of it, folks. We're going to keep you informed as these things progress. Next up, though, Peter C. Earl, economist. Wonderful, wonderful articles that he's written. We're going to cover some of those in just a minute. Stick with us.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
it's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Hey Bucks fans, if you're planning an outing, birthday, or employee appreciation night, then bring your group out to the Buck Stop for a night of fast-paced, high-scoring football. Your group will receive discounted tickets, options for reserved seating, scoreboard messages, VIP services, swag, and a space to gather during the game. You can also participate in pre-game ceremonies, halftime entertainment, in-game contests, and more. Call 701-595-0771 or visit bismarckbucks.com/tickets. All GA is first come, first serve. We'll see you on the turf. Go Bucks!
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York-style pizza. We also feature gyros, with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
Hello and welcome back to No Apologies on Beck. We're coming back. We're going to be talking with Peter C. Earl, an economist with the American Institute for Economic Research. And I want to tell you, I was on vacation, and if you follow the show, you know that because I wasn't around for a while. But I was reading an article. I was reading the Independent Review. It's a journal which comes out 4 times a year. Fantastic articles on political economy and so forth. So there was an article in the most recent volume, and it's entitled The Origins, go ahead and hit it guys, The Origins and Political Persistence of COVID-19 Lockdowns. Now, that alone makes you want to read it, I would say.
Right.
And so I got through this. It's a very interesting thing. I was on vacation, I'm reading this, and I said to my wife, Annie, and I said, this was fantastic article. I'm going to try getting the author to come on the show. So, you know, you do your little electronic thing. Lo and behold, this gentleman was kind enough, gracious enough, just out of the blue to somebody he's never met to say, sure, I'll come on your show. And we are having just a little bit of technical difficulty, so hopefully he's going to be on soon.
Well, let's talk about the American Institute for Economic Research just for a moment, too, because I was looking around on the site just to, you know, do my research and find out about it. And so many interesting things that they have a Bastiat Society.
Yes. Yes, they do.
And I thought that was very interesting, first of all. They have chapter...
Wait, that's impossible. Don't you know that's some radical fringe group?
I just thought that was very interesting of note. Also, they have very auspicious, they have fantastic writers in this group, and he is a fellow, the gentleman that we are talking about here, Pete Earl. And some of his writings are just
fantastic,
superb. I did some reading on them too, and he's something special. So I'm looking forward to talking.
Each one of those articles just knocks it out of the park.
Yep.
And if you want to check out the American Institute for Economic Research, it's under AIER.org. AIER.org. Pull up the next graphic. I'm going to just come up with a salient point here as we wait for Pete to get on. One of the things that Pete writes, because he's talking about how essentially the lockdowns came from a report out of the Imperial College of London. They released a model. Now, what Pete says in his article is before all of this stuff, 10 years ago, a little more than 10 years ago, and even in 2019, people were talking about NPIs, non-pharmaceutical interventions, which includes lockdowns. Now, this is before Corona, I'll remind you, before COVID-19 came around. And they say in this article that Pete is quoting, quote, they further cautioned that such NPIs, non-pharmaceutical interventions, could become politically dangerous during a novel pathogen, which is COVID-19, for which no medical countermeasures will exist due to the risk that lockdown-style quarantines might be pursued for social or political purposes by political leaders rather than pursued because of public health evidence.
Prescient.
Yes. I knew you were going to use your word.
You
yes.
knew. That's my favorite word because it's true. It is predictive, and it was exactly brilliant to think about that in advance of it actually happening. That's precisely what happened.
Yeah. So this Imperial College of London, they put out a report, and they had a model that has been used for various infectious diseases, swine flu, avian flu, and so forth. And so they modeled COVID-19. And what they put out, and you may remember, what they put out was that if we don't do these types of things like the lockdowns, the United States is going to see 2.2 million deaths.
I remember that.
And Great Britain is going to see about 500,000 deaths. And so based on that, suddenly everyone starts freaking out, and they put in the lockdowns. And then the other nations of the world just boom, 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 follow suit. And things happened very, very quickly because of this one report. Right. Now, in September of 2019, Johns Hopkins, scientists from Johns Hopkins had put out a study which confirmed that quarantine is the least effective, so in other words, that's lockdown. Quarantining is the least effective non-pharmaceutical intervention for high-impact respiratory pathogens. So we've known that the lockdown is unlikely to work, especially for what this is, high-impact respiratory pathogen, a virus. We don't have cures for it. It's highly infectious. This fits it to a T. Now, here's a problem with the ICL paper, the Imperial College of London's paper. They pointed out these catastrophes that were imminent if we didn't do lockdowns based on a model which was flawed and based on flu, which didn't apply to COVID, but they based it on lockdowns versus if nobody did anything, which wasn't applicable because people were already saying, well, if I don't need to go out, I'm not going to go out. I'm going to start washing my hands.
Right.
I'm going to, if I'm feeling ill, I'm not going to go out. If someone is coming in sick at work, they're going straight back home. So the comparison of
not doing anything,
lockdown versus absolutely nobody changes anything is a false comparison.
Correct.
So that's number one. Number two, it's important to know that the primary author of this paper, his name is Neil Ferguson, has been wrong on modeling over and over and over again.
No.
Yes, he had a swine flu modeled prediction in 2009, which was way off. Nobody took that into account. The avian flu in 2006, where he wanted lockdowns. He said, oh, we've got to have lockdowns. Turned out to be almost nothing, and no lockdowns were implemented. He had dire warnings for mad lamb disease in the United Kingdom, which I didn't know that was a thing.
Mad lamb disease.
And then mad cow disease in 1996. Now, Neil Ferguson with the Imperial College of London.
With that kind of a track record, why did everybody believe this report?
Well, right. Here, I want mad cow disease.
Yep.
This guy, with his modeling, projected 136,000 deaths from mad cow disease in Great Britain. Do you know how many they had?
What's the real number?
Less than 200.
Oh my.
So
oh,
he was
wow.
he was just off by a
little
smidge.
off.
He was just off by a smidge. And so we have Johns Hopkins saying, yeah, these don't work. We have other groups that have come out with studies saying not only do they not work, but we really have to worry about the misuse and abuse for political purposes. And we have a history of failure after failure after failure for the authors that put the study out that caused everyone to go in lockdown.
Epic fail.
Oh my gosh.
Epic fail of massive proportions. And of course, look at the aftermath from the lockdowns.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And unnecessary.
Right. Now, I think, well, I'm going to tee it up and we'll get into it in the next segment. Hopefully Pete is going to be able to get with us here before the next segment. But we are able to look at the efficacy and the predictive value of their model because various countries took a look at it and either implemented or didn't. And then we have the 50 United States, which did various things as well, looking at models, not looking at models. And so when we come back, we're going to talk more about really how useful was it now that we have evidence. So stick with us, folks. We will be right back.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Prairie Patriot Firearms and Training is the region's most complete gun and training center. 5-lane indoor range, a gun shop, and a certified training facility. Firearms training courses are offered daily for new, intermediate, and advanced shooters. If you're not comfortable in a classroom setting, Prairie Patriot offers one-on-one private lessons, from basic self-defense training to concealed weapons testing, along with a full line of guns, ammunition, holsters, and concealment clothing. Prairie Patriot, 3930 Memorial Highway, prairiepatriot.com.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hey, we're back. It's No Apologies on Beck, your after hours oasis of sanity. I'm your host, Rick Becker, and our co-host, Lori Hintz.
Hi there.
And our esteemed guest. I was so excited.
No, me too.
He's hopefully still trying to get in. Folks, I apologize. Well, we don't have him.
No apologies, and you actually apologized.
Oh, shoot.
Woo!
Folks, I
Winning!
regret. I regret.
He's got to put money in the jar
regret
now,
having to inform you that Pete is not with us yet. Fortunately, I'm very familiar with the article of which we are speaking. So I'm going to fill in for Pete. We were talking, so this whole segment is about the Imperial College of London's report, which really instigated all of the lockdowns in a very dramatic and quick fashion, and how it's based on so very little, and whatever it is based on is actually completely wrong. And now, having the ability to look retrospectively and look at various countries, we can say, not only did past history indicate that this was going to be wrong, but now we know it actually was wrong. So what they did is looked at the the idea of lockdown versus nothing. We already indicated that that's a counterfactual, as Pete indicates in his
Counterfactual.
counterfactual.
I like
right.
that.
It doesn't. You cannot compare it to that. That's apples to oranges because that didn't exist.
Correct.
So Sweden had modeling done. So the country of Sweden, which we've heard so much about, they had the modeling done to indicate, well, what's going to happen? What do we need to do? And Neil Ferguson's group said, great, we are going to do modeling for you. And what they predicted is that by June, there would be 96,000 deaths if they didn't do the lockdowns.
And Sweden didn't do the lockdowns.
Right. So they said 96,000 deaths if you don't do the lockdowns, 30,000 deaths if you do the lockdowns. Okay? So Sweden was looking at, well, gosh, we should do lockdowns so that we only have 30,000 deaths instead of 96,000. They chose, for whatever reason, I'd love to have the Prime Minister of Sweden or what have you on. They chose to do no lockdown. Do you know how many deaths they had?
I can't wait to hear.
4,666.
That's it? Total 4,000?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
less
tiny.
than 1/6 of the deaths that they were told they would have if they did do lockdowns.
If they did. Oh,
so
my.
This Neil Ferguson's Imperial College of London's report, complete and utter crap.
We should remember this for the next pandemic.
Well, yeah. So they also did modeling for New York because when it came to reopening, right? So Neil Ferguson and Imperial College of London is back again saying, oh, hey, we're going to model for you guys. If you reopen against our recommendations, here's what's going to happen. And they did it for New York, Massachusetts, California, Washington, Florida.
Interestingly, the first 4 of those were blue states,
Blue states. They were off on all of them. They were way, incredibly off. They were so far off that there was 0 value. There was only a negative value if you actually took into consideration any aspect of their modeling. And we need to shout this from the rooftops because you know what's going to happen.
It's going to happen again.
This guy and his group and others like him are going to come back for the next infectious disease, whether it's COVID-21 or whatever it might be. So, all right, now, Peter points out in his article, let's pull up the next graphic. We have a quote here that I pulled. He says the stringent lockdowns that gained favor in the wake of the ICL, Imperial College of London, recommendations come with several unambiguous costs, including widespread social and economic devastation,
nailed it,
long-term public health detriments due to deferred non-COVID medical treatment. So you're not going in for your chest pain. You're not going in for that cough that turns out to be lung cancer, whatever, right? Also increased suicide and substance abuse rates, and a dramatic increase in poverty and food insecurity rates, as well as a soaring national debt.
Spot on every single one of those items.
Exactly. So here we have policies which are not only obviously antithetical to freedom, but based on lies and, if you want to call it false science, it's not science at all.
It's flawed, at very least, and definitely false.
And when we spoke out against it, we were the science deniers.
That's right, vilified. It's true.
Peter looked at various other things and said, why are we continuing with these lockdowns? Why are they persisting? Because it's a very curious thing, because it seems to me that, to Peter and to others, other economists and scientists, there is ample data available to show that they didn't work. Therefore, they need not be implemented again. And he looked at a few things. One, there was no relation of the lockdown stringency, how strict they were, versus the mortality rate. There was no correlation there. So that's good. That goes a little bit back to being able to prove it wrong.
Sure.
But also, more importantly, for this part of the discussion, there was no specific correlation to approval ratings, political approval ratings versus what was happening. So you could say, well, politicians suck, and so they're just going to do lockdowns because that will help their approval ratings. But retrospective data shows it doesn't help at all. So
it's so interesting to me, too, because I remember at the time thinking that curve's not going to change. That curve is going to be what it is no matter what anybody else does. And it was shown over and over and over again that that was true. And it's interesting that politically that was not affected either, because you would think, you know, intuitively that would, but that it didn't even affect.
No, I'm sure, and that's on the average. I'm sure there are little, things here. I would think that, Kristi Noem's approval rating soaring because she didn't do lockdowns, would be a little bit of an outlier. But Pete goes on to identify three aspects, three components to why are we sticking down? Why are the lockdowns persisting? And I know for most places they're up, but they were on for a long time, and
there are places who are still going to leave on the 19th. I keep seeing June 19th as the day that people are going to open up.
In a heartbeat, they'll reinstitute them.
They will.
In a heartbeat.
No, you're right.
And so three of the things. One is what he calls the sunk cost fallacy and path dependency. So what that essentially means is, well, you know, there's a tendency to continue throwing good money after bad. There's a strong tendency in politicians especially with regard to their unwillingness to concede error. And I think we had that in North Dakota.
I think that's very true.
It's completely true. We went back to
we have
all
to
of
go
the...
with that decision, and we have to just continue with it because we made that decision and we can't step back because it would show that
we were doing contact tracing, we pulled back, and then we went back to it, even though by then we knew that it wasn't going to help.
Sure.
So that's one. Two is what he calls action biases. And this is especially true for politicians as well. An action bias. You have a bias to do something, to take an action. So there's politicians, especially weak politicians, feel the pressure to do something. They must do something. And this, I tell you, in my opinion, is an underlying factor in so many of the bad decisions that have been made by elected officials in North Dakota, throughout the United States, throughout the world. Do something. Because you can't be seen as a do-nothing legislator, governor, president.
I can see that, but do you think it's counterintuitive for people? I mean, to just sit back and say, okay, this is going to play out no matter what I do, so I need to just, I mean, it takes a real leader to be able to be.
It does, and that's the problem, is we don't have strong leaders in these positions. Look at schools. Why in North Dakota were schools closed? When the data was already there, the kids aren't getting infected they're almost at a zero
minuscule rate, right.
And the ones that are not transmitting it to other adults at almost a zero rate. And we know how detrimental being out of school is to their learning, to their education, to their well-being. Suicide attempts, especially by adolescent females, skyrocketed. I mean, it was horrible. But why? Why did we keep our schools in North Dakota closed? Why are they closed in other states? Why were they closed for as long as they were in North Dakota? And open, close, open, close, open, close. So that is the action bias, do something. The third and final one is the transitional gains trap. Transitional gains trap. And essentially what it is that every time something like this happens, we
knee-jerk.
We knee-jerk. Public health experts, public health establishment grows. We need them, we run to them, we give them more responsibility, we give them more money. They expand what they're doing, they hire more people, they have more responsibility, they take more control. The threat abates, but none of that goes away.
Still there.
The money still is driven, the personnel is still driven.
I had somebody just this last couple of days text me and tell me that there is still a state of emergency in effect with the North Dakota Health Department.
Yeah.
And that's astounding to me, considering that our rate right now is minuscule and tiny.
Yeah.
Crazy.
As we close out Pete's article, he talks about behavioral symmetry. And I think this is important to think about, because so many people were jumping on the bandwagon of, well, scientists said this. And of course, it's a select group of scientists. Or doctors said this, and it's a select group of doctors. But there is something called behavioral symmetry, and there is a tendency for humans to act a certain way. We expect politicians to try and balance their principles, but we expect scientists to remain true to science. But they're human beings.
Right.
They need to be published. They need to be prominent. They have all of these driving factors. So when you hear scientists said, that's the beauty. When we talked before about science, it needs to be examined and it needs to be retested. The hypothesis needs to be tested. You never take it at face value. That's not science, that's stupidity. So scientists are human beings, and they put out crap like Neil Ferguson did with the Imperial College of London, and it'll happen again, folks. So now you are armed with the
knowledge to know not to
wisdom.
Believe this guy next time. Let's hope.
Not this guy, but that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
Okay, stick with us, folks. We are going to be right back.
ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
When you're buying windows, make sure you're comparing apples to apples. Hi, I'm Jesse with the Window Source. We only sell you the best windows and doors for the best price. Call the Window Source. Just because you pay less doesn't mean you get less.
If you don't know what's going on in education in this country, then you don't know what's going to happen in the future of this country. And it's important. I'm Dr. Duke.
And I'm Katie.
Watch the Dr. Duke Show weekdays at 4 p.m. Central Time on Beck TV.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. Go to MyPillow.com right now to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. For example, you can get my premium MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now just $29.98, the lowest price ever.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Hello, hello, we are back. It's No Apologies on Beck. And this segment, Lori, I'm so interested in because you are going to feed us some good information.
Well, it's interesting. It's about companies who attack petroleum and yet are being a little hypocritical about that because they may actually be using petroleum. So there was this, what brought this to my attention was a Federalist article and a Twitter post that I came across. And the Twitter post was very interesting because the Twitter post included a video, which I will show you in just a little bit here too. But the deal is that oil and gas company slams North Face for green hypocrisy is the Federalist article. Let's show the graphic on this one. So you can see the Federalist article. North Face claims to be a company that is sustainable from start to finish. But Liberty Oil, obviously, says that the clothing company creates products that likely use at least 90% oil and gas-related fibers, which is far more than the 60% global average. So the basis of this story is that these guys who are bashing oil. So it goes back to a December 17th, 2020 article in the Washington Times, and North Face refuses jacket order was the original one. Let's show some more graphics here. I'll give you some background on this story. So a growing list of companies, this is from the original Washington Times article from December 17th, 2020. A growing list of companies are bowing to pressure from climate change groups to stiff-arm the oil and gas industry. But as far as Adam Anderson is concerned, North Face shouldn't be one of them. Let's go to flip to one more here. Mr. Anderson, CEO of Innovix Downhole Solutions in Houston, went public last week after the North Face rejected an order for 400 jackets with the Innovix logo because, as he told CBS 7 in Midland, we were an oil and gas services company. So the denial came even though the vast majority of North Face's hoodies, coats, gloves, snow pants, and other apparel, as well as tents and backpacks, are made with nylon, polyester, and polyurethane, all of which come from, you guessed it, petroleum. So fleece jackets are also polyester. So I'm going to show you what the backlash was by this CEO. It is a fabulous little 1-minute video. Roll tape, please.
I'm Chris Wright, CEO of Liberty Energy. North Face recently came out against my industry, even refusing to let one of my competitors put their company logo on a North Face jacket. I went through North Face's website of wide-ranging products, and I failed to find a single product that wasn't made out of oil and gas. The great majority of North Face's products, jackets, backpacks, outdoor pants, shirts, shoes, hats, etc., are dominantly made out of the oil and gas that we so proudly produce. Globally, 60% of all clothing fibers are made out of oil and gas. For North Face, it is likely 90% or more. So North Face is not only an extraordinary customer of the oil and gas industry, they are also a partner with the oil and gas industry. So thank you, North Face, and you're welcome.
That
Isn't that the best thing you have ever seen ever? I mean, finally somebody's kind of fighting back on the hypocrisy, and that's why it really caught my attention, because usually, you know, the companies just kind of take it and push it by the wayside, but this time somebody's actually commenting and coming back and fighting back, so I really like that.
Andrew Clark, what is he? What do we have a specific company with him, or he's just pointing it out?
He was, yeah, he was the one who pointed out, the gentleman who put the Twitter article out you're talking about.
Yes.
I did not check into his background.
That's
but I loved
phenomenal.
it.
That is, wow, classy, well done. I mean,
now, what my question to you is,
I'm going to have that guy run my political ads.
Right? No joke. I mean, that was great. It was really well done. And my question is this an ESG issue?
You know, it could be, but here's something that I'm aware of is North Face has been at the front of this for a long time. Now, maybe they were feeling the ESG pressure from the beginning.
We should explain what ESG is, too, because for those who missed an earlier show when we did a whole thing on ESG, it is...
Right. It's all about social justice and environmental justice.
And social... Yeah,
right. And so it's horrible. It's a leftist agenda that their companies are either jumping to or are being coerced to abide by, and it's all sort of anti-gun, anti-oil and gas, anti-fossil fuels in general. Very, very...
well, it's coercive because these companies are forced to make changes, I think.
Right. But North Face was on the front end of this, so I can only surmise that they weren't doing this reluctantly, because if so, they would be on the back end. You could argue that Coke is on the back end and Oreo is on the back end, and some of these other companies that have done stupid things with regard to this social justice stuff. But North Face has been on the front, and I'm not buying any North Face. I mean, I'm not big on telling people what to buy or not buy. But these people are full of crap and strongly support a big-time leftist progressive agenda. So I don't think it's just catering to ESG. I think that this goes to the heart and soul of North Face.
It really does. In the original Washington Times article, the irony in this statement is that your jackets are made from the oil and gas products the hardworking men and women of our industry produce, Mr. Anderson said in a letter on LinkedIn to the North Face CEO, Steve Rendy. Quote, "I think this stance by your company is counterproductive virtue signaling, and I would appreciate you reconsidering your stance." I love that. And it's very, very well done. I just appreciate a company actually finally fighting back. And you know, we've had people who are doing that on a regular grassroots level, but companies have really not done a whole lot of fighting back.
Yeah, and this virtue signaling and this hypocrisy, any company that's doing that, and it's hard to do because there's so many, but whenever I have the opportunity to purchase a product of a competitor, I'll do it any day of the week.
All right. Well, That's all I had.
Good. Well, that's interesting. I love that. I'm going to go watch it again. I think it's fantastic. In fact, I want to find out if that guy will come on the show.
Right? Wouldn't that be great? He should. That's a great point.
Folks, next up, we're going to be talking about a few of Biden's executive orders. Believe it or not, there's one or two I actually like in here. So stick with it. What could they be? We'll see.
When you can't find answers to your recurring health challenges, it can feel like your health and your future are being held hostage. The Wellness Way is a network of health restoration clinics that think and act differently to solve the health challenges others can't. Here, we disrupt the standard approach to care through a combination of testing, individual plans, and one-on-one guidance, putting your health and your future where they belong, in your own hands.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Spas, etc. Yeah. You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Main and Bismarck.
40 years ago, Aero Service Team started with one truck and lots of hard work.
Times may have changed, but the hard work that we put in to get your lives back in order after fire, water, and disaster hasn't.
Over the years, we've seen so many families lose their belongings due to water and fire damage. Restoring homes back to the original state has made every hour of hard work well worth it.
Thank you for trusting our family with yours.
When disaster strikes, you only have to make one call. Aero Service Team does it all.
Every great pizza has a secret. At New York To Go, that secret lies in our perfectly recreated New York water, the key ingredient to making our signature New York style pizza. We also feature gyros with the region's only gyro meat spit, plus Nathan's hot dogs, calzones, and our delicious jumbo buffalo wings. Try a 14-inch or our special giant 20-inch pizza tonight. You gotta know how to fold them if you want to hold them. New York To Go, we deliver for you.
It's every American's right to bear arms. At Mandan Sporting Goods, we're here to help you support your Second Amendment rights, which reads, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Whether you're looking for a pistol for personal defense or collector gun, we have the staff to help you. We also have the area's largest inventory of ammo and reloading supplies.
Mandan Sporting Goods, the area's local gun and ammo specialists.
We are back. No apologies on Beck. It's our final segment already.
I know, it kind of flew by.
It did.
I'm not going to lie.
But I had to stand in the stead of Peter, so I'm going to ask for a job with the Institute.
You did a great job. It was masterful talking about his stuff. And his things were, I'm looking forward to reading more of Pete Earle's stuff.
Yep, Pete Earle or Peter C. Earle. And as we said before, American Institute of Economic Research, fantastic stuff. Definitely check it out. Let's talk about some executive orders.
Okay.
These are, I don't know if I want to say boring, but we're covering all of Biden's executive orders, so you know what the heck is going on, and you might hear a little something, and you can say, I'm aware of that.
And we're now in proclamation city right now. It's all these proclamations that came down. This one in particularly March 1st of this year. This first one came out. A proclamation on American Red Cross Month is the first one. 2021, of course. For 140 years, the American Red Cross has been synonymous with the prevention and alleviation of human suffering across the globe. Founded by Clara Barton in 1881, the organization's mission lives on in the dedication of Red Cross workers, more than 90% of whom are volunteers. Not really anything that you can disagree with on there.
No, and I mean, to me, proclamations like this they bug me a little bit because they're sort of like a waste of time. Like, yay, I don't need, government telling me these things, which is why I tend to be a little bit of a wet blanket in the state legislature when there are resolutions. There's the one famous one where I voted no on the resolution, which basically said, we like Canada. And the Canadian dude was
Is this
there.
really necessary to say in a
like,
proclamation
come
and
on.
spend the time on it when we could be
It's
cutting
ridiculous.
taxes and things like that?
That being said, I, unlike so many of the other proclamations and executive orders,
You really like this one?
Well, they're proclaiming that American Red Cross, a private charitable organization, does fantastic work. Well, yeah, I agree. And of course, we can segue into the problem. Well, no, the problem with this whole idea is that when we have government growth and when we have government trying to get in and solve each person's problems and acting as the conduit for charity and benevolence.
They have no business sticking their nose in that stuff.
Right.
Just stay out
Not
of it.
only does it become inefficient, not only does it create dependency for all the people it's trying to help, but it tells the people who otherwise would be donating to the American Red Cross or donating their own time or whatever else. It says, you know what, government's got control of this. You just go back to fishing or whatever it is.
Kind of squashes volunteerism, doesn't it?
It really does, because your tax dollars are going to it. Why? You already are paying. So I think it's great. Proclaim the importance of American Red Cross Month, but at the same time, I'm going to say private charitable organizations are the way to go, not governmental.
Let them do their own job.
All right.
The next one is proclamation on National Consumer Protection Week. In this moment of crisis, the last thing any of us should have to contend with are predators in the consumer marketplace seeking to take advantage of us, exploit our personal data, or invade our digital privacy.
I only have one phrase to say here, and that is, this is the pot calling the kettle black.
I was just thinking that. Pot call kettle black. Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. All right, and then it goes on to say, scammers also saw the distribution of stimulus payments as fertile ground for fraud, offering vulnerable people false promises of help to get their payments more quickly. My administration has zero tolerance for these and other criminals who take Americans' hard-earned dollars or abuse their personal information.
Oh, that is rich.
I know.
That is just hilarious.
Right. I mean, I think that's nice to say that, but perhaps federal government, get your own house in order.
Words mean things, people.
Before you try and get on other people's backs about taking their hard-earned dollars. The other thing is
invading privacy.
Well, right. NSA, Obama. Surveillance tapes, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And I shouldn't say just Obama. I mean, Bush, Obama. It's been all throughout, but there's been some egregious things in the Obama administration. It's interesting that they talk about hard-earned dollars in the same paragraph that they're talking about their stimulus payments.
Right.
Because those hard-earned dollars were not earned, right? No, I'm not saying that some people didn't
Other
need
people
them.
may have earned those dollars.
Right. But those dollars, whose dollars those hard-earned dollars were? Your grandchildren. Because they were made up. Your grandchildren have to pay for them. They're not your hard-earned dollars. They're the grandkids' hard-earned dollars. And on top of that, those grandkids' hard-earned dollars, there are reports saying that up to 50% of all those payments are lost to fraud, including significantly other countries. I mean, it's phenomenal. And that's what we see when no one is personally footing the bill.
Right.
There's no accountability. It's all free money.
No oversight.
Government throws it out. They don't care. They're just sending it out. How are they going to get accountability and minimize fraud in this circumstance, which is knee-jerk and just blammo, when they can't get a handle on fraud in Medicare and Medicaid, which has been around for decades? And it always goes back to the same thing. If it's not your money,
it's easy
to waste.
Yep.
And if it's not your money, it's easy to not try and hold other people accountable.
Precisely.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Good
All
luck
right.
on that one. Do you wanna
Let's
go
go
to
on.
one
Yeah,
more?
let's go on to the next one. All right. This is a notice on the continuation of the national emergency with respect to Venezuela. Does I sound
yeah, that was pretty
Latino?
good. That was very
Latinx?
nice. That was pretty good. This was from March 3rd, that this particular notice of continuation. So we've had executive orders, proclamations. Did we have any resolutions too in there somewhere? Some resolution, I think. And then this is now a notice of continuation of a national emergency. And what is the purpose of this? But simply more spending. Some same old stuff. Sounds a little familiar.
Yeah.
We've done this a couple of times before.
Right. There's also the aspect of the hypocrisy because they're not letting people from Venezuela come into the country. You know, of course, when Trump did that selectively, it was racist. And Venezuela is a Latino nation, Latin American nation, and but you know, double standard is the way to go. On the other hand, you know, if they are bad guys. Then all of these things that Obama put in place, Trump continued, now Biden is continuing, including sanctions against the government officials, holding their bank accounts and so forth. I mean, I think that's fine. I think that's a good way to go.
At some point, you just have to do sanctions.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next one. It's a notice on the continuation of national emergency with respect to Ukraine. It's the same one. I think this is fine. Ukraine's got a lot of bad guys in it.
Well, and Biden and his son Hunter have had a lot of history with them. They've got plenty of history with that, right?
I'm including Hunter with the bad guys
several segments on its own.
In the Ukraine. And then lastly, notice on the continuation of national emergency with respect to Zimbabwe. And this is all the same thing. Again, a lot of bad folks in Zimbabwe and U.S. I'd much rather put sanctions on money they have over here and various trade than to try and go over and, by way of violence, force them to
Tomorrow, next show, we will hopefully have our guest. And Joey Gilbert is the gentleman that you are going to think he's fantastic. And we'll talk a little bit about COVID next time. See you soon. Happy Flag Day.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.